Hi, I am Amanda Madkins-Choyce, and I wanted to respond to our assignment for the week. And I really wanted to focus on how can we be successful in teaching our students higher order, higher level thinking, common standards in our classrooms and as a district as a whole. So one of the articles that I really paid close attention was the Susan Brookhart article that talked about higher order thinking skills. And what she pointed out was there were three skills in particular that as teachers we need to focus on. And the first one was the transfer, which is the artful thinking, being able to transfer information from one discipline to the next and not just keep it static. The second one was critical thinking, which is like a reflective thinking, allowing students to make sound decisions in their lives. And then problem solving, which was strategizing, using the information that they know in an effective and efficient way to solve important problems. And so as a teacher, I looked at that very carefully because the research that she points out is actually very clear that when you teach students higher order thinking skills, they are going to do better in tests, on grades, on everything. So as a teacher, you cannot not look at that information and see, well, I can just continue to do things as is. You're going to have to make some changes. So as a teacher, how I'm going to make my students successful with these standards are to incorporate some of these higher order thinking skills that she points out, such as looking at the main idea in English language arts, making sure my students are inferring, making sure I'm looking at the author's purpose, making sure I'm looking at the theme or the central message. And I teach first grade, but even that's not an excuse because those are skills that are in our Common Core standards and I can incorporate them. Because as I said, the research is pretty clear that that's what teachers need to go. The second article was on that I paid close attention to that was assigned to us was the Torlakson. And what I really point out were two recommendations that two of the recommendations, one of which was recommendation 10, where it talked about that they are going to focus on higher quality teaching and learning. Recommendation 3 was how 11th grade was going to be a focal point in making sure students are ready for college. And I think when you look at the SBAC, when I practiced the SBAC, I did it for ELA, it was very clear it was not the old 97 standards type tests. It wasn't just recall. It was give two pieces of evidence from the text to support this idea, or point out two things from the text that support this idea. It was very clear that the students we're going to have to really analyze that text very carefully. So I can see how if you use the Susan Brookhart's information in teaching students how to really transfer the information, use critical thinking and problem solving, how they would do very well in that SBAC test. And so I thought in general that Torlakson did a very good job of listing out some key recommendations to help our students be successful. But as I said, I want to be successful as a teacher and I want my district to be successful. And so when I refer back to the Standard Movement article by Dr. Jeffrey Jones, it kind of talked about how a lot of these movements are very cyclical and how one goes up, the other goes down. Some are successful, a lot of them are not so successful. And it's clear to me that as in a district level, why a lot of times these movements are not very successful. So if you're a teacher and you have been taught 15, 20 years on 97 standards and basically recall information, and then at the drop of a hat, you're told, oh, now we're going to switch to these higher level Bloom's taxonomy thinking, I can see how as a teacher, it would be very hard to switch. As our students are transitioning out of those 97 standards into the Common Core higher quality thinking standards, I can see how it would not be successful. So as a teacher, what I would suggest is more of instead of a bottom down approach, districts pushing and states pushing, and the state superintendent of education pushing teachers to do certain things. It needs to be more like a middle up and down approach, or a bottom up approach where teachers have buy-in to say, this is how I can do this now. This is how I can transition out of one type of standard until another type, so that we can be successful in our classroom teaching students the higher quality standards and the higher quality thinking that we want them to be successful with, but without, the stress that we're having to go through now. So again, my topic was, how can we be successful? I would say the research is clear. We do need to move as teachers. We do need to move into the higher order thinking skills, and we need to plan ahead of time with our PLC teams for those, because as the article said, the Susan Brookharts, when you're trying to do it on the spot, those tend to be lower level questions. So you have to plan in advance with your team, with your PLC team, to make sure you are getting a wide range of questions, that you're thinking ahead of time. But again, in order for teachers to be successful, they have to have buy-in into this new movement, and we have to have a chance to plan and to think about and to have our buy-in as well. So again, my name is Amanda Madkins-Choyce, and I really wanted to talk about how can we be successful as a teacher and have a strong impact in our classroom with higher quality thinking questions and thinking skills, and how can we be successful as a district. Thank you very much.